Yeah. Looking good, looking good. Looking good like we should. Oh, hello. Yes, welcome to Secure Acres Natural Bees. Hope you're doing fine. What's that? You want to know about treatments? Well, I love treatments here. I mean, I treat my bees to a sugar-free diet. I treat them to minimal disturbance. I treat them to horizontal hives with extra deep frames. Yeah, I love treatments. Treatments are the way to go. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Good afternoon, beekeepers and bee enthusiasts. How you doing? It's another great day at the farm. And we're hanging out. It's drizzling outside. It's about 40, 45 degrees. It's a little warmer than it has been the last few weeks, but you know, it's kind of nasty outside, but it's not too bad. So we are coming at you with a fantastic video today. And the reason why it's fantastic is it is covering a controversial topic in beekeeping. Now, in the beekeeping world, there are two groups of people. There are people that believe that honeybees need to be medicated and they need to have formulas and chemicals on the inside of the hive to help them survive, and that there's no way for bees to survive without any sort of treatment. And then there's another group of people that basically says, we don't want any chemicals or medications in our hive. We don't want that junk with our bees, and we just want them to be able to live without that kind of stuff. Now, the reason why this video is really significant is we've kept bees for about 2 sets of 5 years each. And what I mean by that is we kept bees from 2012 to 2017. And in that time frame, we medicated our bees, we used treatments, we used all that stuff to try to keep our bees alive. And it's like, oh, we were struggling to keep our bees alive. And then we basically quit beekeeping for 2 years. And then in 2019, we started keeping bees treatment free. And we didn't use any kind of chemicals, we didn't use any treatments. And we actually were kind of surprised by what we discovered in that 5 years. And we think it's going to be a really good topic for you today. You're really going to enjoy it. And you'll see the comparisons we have for the 2 sets of times that we basically kept bees. This is going to be a great video. We know you're going to enjoy it. This is our success with treatment-free beekeeping. So the real question is in beekeeping, or a question that is put out by a lot of people, is, can bees survive without treatment from human beings? Can they survive? You know, can they make it without medications? Are diseases too strong for bees these days that unfortunately we've gotten to such a bad spot that we just have to put formulas and stuff into our beehives to help our bees? You know, can they survive without treatments? And really, I could put a whole end to this entire argument by saying that there are honeybees that live in the wild that survive without human treatment all the time. And a lot of people call these bees mite bombs and stuff like that because they don't have any treatment or whatnot, and you know, they produce swarms and whatnot. But when it comes right down to it, those bees survive without any kind of treatment. All those bees in the wild, they survive without any treatment. They have no human interaction, and they do just fine. But we'll go even further than that. So if we're keeping bees in beehives, can they survive without treatment? Can bees get by? Well, back in 2012, when we first started keeping bees, we were reading all the expert books out there, all the books out there pushing all the big information and stuff out there. And one of the big things that experts out there push is you got to treat your bees. And that's what a lot of people say out there. If you look at a lot of big YouTubers out on YouTube right now that are telling you how to keep bees, they're going to tell you to treat and that you got to treat your bees. And so when we started keeping bees in 2012, that's exactly what we did. Now in 2012 to 2017, we did 2 different types of treatments. We did mite strips, which, if you don't know what mite strips are, they are a strip of this stuff that basically you put on top of your frames on the inside of your hives, and they are supposed to protect you from varroa mites. So, and everybody's heard of varroa, you know, you've heard that they're nasty and stuff like that. And so you put these mite strips over your frames, and basically the bees come in contact with it, and it it is said that it helps it with keeping diseases off and all that stuff. Now, we would use stuff like that, and we'd use those mite strips. And I'm not kidding you, every single year that we kept bees, our bees completely died. There was one year when we bought like 10 packages of bees, and we were doing all the professional tips out there, and we were treating them with like mite strips and stuff like that. And all 10 packages died. They all died. And that's a lot of money. I mean, that's about $2,000 worth of bees. And so our bees would die every single year. So I said, okay, maybe these mite strips aren't very effective, and maybe there's a better treatment out there. So I ran into oxalic acid. And if you don't know what oxalic acid is, it is wood bleach. And basically, people use it to fog the inside of their hives. They use like a little wand, and it melts it down, and it basically turns it into a fume, and it goes on the inside of the hive, and it fogs the bees. And they say that that is supposed to stop them from varroa and all that stuff. So I started doing that. And I did that for about a year or two, and guess what? The bees would die every single year. So the bees just kept dying. I mean, we were using treatments, the bees were dying, and it got so bad that we really thought we were failures and that we really had issues with keeping bees. And so we basically gave up. We said, okay, we're just not good enough to keep bees. They keep dying on us. You know, we're big into using treatments and stuff like that. And the bees kept dying. And this is something, I don't care what all the big experts out there say, this is something that a lot of new beekeepers run into. They use all the professional help out there. They treat, they feed sugar water, they do all that stuff. And basically their bees will die within a year or two, and then they'll be completely out of bees. And a lot of people will give up beekeeping and they'll stop keeping bees. And that's what we did. We gave up completely. So it wasn't until 2019 where we found Lazoutin's book, Keeping Bees with a Smile. And I just made a big video about Lazoutin, and you should watch it if you haven't. But we made we read Keeping Bees with a Smile, and in there Lazoutin taught that treatments, because we're trying to keep bees naturally and keep them to how they're staying in the wild, bees in the wild don't receive treatments, and they don't receive any of that stuff. So if bees in the wild don't need treatments, then maybe we don't need treatments as well. Like maybe we can get by without treatments. So we put it to the test. And in 2019, we started keeping bees. We started catching swarms in our local area. And we started catching swarms. We put them in hives. We kept them. We weren't treating whatsoever. And I think the first year we caught like 4 colonies. And then over the winter, 2 perished. And then 2 survived to the next year. And then the next year, I think we caught like anywhere from 4 to 6. And then we went into the next winter with like 6 colonies, and then a few perished. And then we went to the next winter, and we basically were growing our apiary every single year. And again, we were doing this completely treatment free. And it blew my mind, because all I had heard all the time is you got to treat your bees. You got to get those chemicals in there. The bees can't survive. You need to buy our product. You need to spend that money, buy our stuff, buy it. And, you know, we went without doing that, and it turned out the bees were fine. And one season, we actually went into the winter, I'm not kidding you, with 11 colonies, and then we survived and had 11 colonies make it through. I think that was 2023. We had 11 colonies make it to the next season. And they always say, oh, well, the treatments are going to get you, or the pests are going to get you in the wintertime, and that's when they're going to be really bad, and that's when your bees are going to die. But that one year, we had 11 colonies survive and make it to the next year, and that I was just completely blown away. And it really dumbfounds me, because it's fascinating what you'll hear in literature and what you'll see on YouTube videos and stuff like that, and people preaching to you that you absolutely have to do something for your bees to survive. And it's just not true. None of that stuff is true. And when it comes to treatments, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need to do it. Now, maybe we had a fluke for 6 years and our bees just miraculously survived. Like maybe we've got a miracle apiary. I'm not sure. But we have kept bees treatment free for the last 5 to 6 years, and they've been doing fine. Now, do we lose bees? Of course we lose bees. I mean, everybody loses bees. People that treat lose bees. No matter what they tell you, they lose bees too. So everybody loses colonies all the time. It happens. But what I want to put out there is, if we can make it 5 or 6 years without treating, and we can maintain our apiary, then what makes you think you need to treat your bees? Why do you think it's so necessary? I mean, I know that's what the propaganda out there is telling you, but what really makes you think you got to use that treatment? And would you ever consider maybe just going a year or two without treating and seeing how your bees do? Now, I heard an argument yesterday when I was doing some reading, and a person basically said, if you don't treat your bees, you're going to be buying bees, and basically you're going to be purchasing new packages and stuff like that. But the funny thing about that is we don't treat, but we also don't buy bees because we catch swarms. So if you go and get into the practice of catching swarms and getting new colonies of bees, then basically your bees are going to be free. They're going to be absolutely free. All you got to do is pay for a box to catch them in, but they're free bees. And if they do perish, which all colonies do, you don't have to get too upset about it. So, we have found success through basically keeping bees treatment free. I will never go back to treating because I have seen from my own eyes that our bees are actually doing just fine without treatment. And I would even argue they're doing better without the treatment. I mean, some of that stuff like the mite strips that you put on frames, you're not even supposed to touch that stuff with your bare hands. That's how toxic it is. And yet they tell you to put this on the inside of your hives and let your bees mess with it. Or like oxalic acid is like wood bleach, and you're fogging your bees with wood bleach. I mean, I don't care who you are. I mean, that stuff is not good for your bees. And I will never go back to doing that stuff. We have found success in our apiary doing treatment free, and we've really enjoyed it, and we know you can too. So we've shown you our history, and we've shown you that we had a period where we kept bees and we treated all the time, and our bees would die every single year. And then we've also shown you that we kept bees treatment free since 2019 up until now. No chemicals whatsoever, and our bees are doing just fine. We have colonies every year, and they're doing good. And yes, you can make it without treatment. You don't need treatment for your bees to survive. They can get through it. And in fact, I would argue they actually do a little bit better without the treatment. But I just want to make an argument for why you shouldn't treat. Now, every single year, those treatment companies are pushing, hey, there's big mean insects out there trying to get your honeybees. You got to buy these treatments. Here's a nice little box of treatment for you. Take that, and that'll get you through the winter, and your bees will survive. And you better buy this stuff, because if you don't, your bees aren't going to make it. You got to buy. You got to buy this stuff right now. And people will buy those products, and they will treat their bees. And then every few years or so, people notice that their bees are still dying even while using those treatments. So then basically the treatment companies come out and they say, well, it turns out the pests are resistant to those treatments now. And hey, we got a nice new resistant treatment for you. And you need to take this and you need to put it on your bees, and your bees will not survive without it. So you need to take these treatments and you need to keep buying it. And so people will take the new treatments and they'll treat their bees for a year or two. And then once again, their bees will be dying. And then they'll say, hey, I need new treatments. And the treatment companies are like, well, you're in luck because we got a new treatment for you. We got a brand new treatment. It's adapted to the pest, and it's going to be good to go. Do you see the cycle we're going through? Every single year or two, these treatment companies are coming out with new treatments because the pests are becoming adapted to the treatments. So by using treatments, you are making those pests in your beehive stronger all the time. And it doesn't matter how much you use it, because they're always going to come back. And guess what? You're always going to be pulling out that wallet, swiping that credit card, and buying new treatments, because those treatment companies are just pouring it into you. Hey, you gotta buy this junk. You gotta buy it. You gotta have it. Your bees won't survive without it. And it's such a lie. To put it nicely, it is a lie. And I have discovered it for myself. I've discovered that we don't need treatments, and that our bees do just fine. There are many other beekeepers that are treatment free. I know my good friend Bruce at Swarmstead Bees and Gardening. He's an excellent beekeeper. He has a bunch of beehives. He catches swarms like the wind blows. He doesn't treat his bees whatsoever, and they do just fine. But he does just fine. And a lot of other beekeepers that are treatment free do just fine. And guess what? They actually save money. So I want to put this out there. When you're buying treatments, you're making pests stronger. And guess what? those companies that are selling treatments, they don't care about your bees. They don't care anything about your bees. They want to make money. They want to make money, okay? Those companies want to make money. They don't want to save your bees. In fact, it is in their best interest that your bee stays sick so they can keep selling those treatments over and over and over again. So you got to snap out of this. Get out of this idea that you've got to use treatments, because it is not true. You don't need to use treatments. Your bees are going to be just fine. And I'm telling you right now, by you using those treatments, you're making those pests stronger. You're making them stronger. You're making them more adapted. They're getting nastier, and we're all having to deal with it because, you know, people are treating all the time. And I'm done with it. I'm never going to go back to using treatments. And if I can convince as many people as I can not to use treatments, then that'll be a success for me. And I'm going to keep doing that. And the truth is, you can't get into this idea that you just absolutely have to treat, because it's not true. And that is propaganda that is spread to sell you stuff. It's just meant to sell you more treatments. That's all it's meant to do. It has nothing to do with saving your bees or making them healthier. It is meant to make money, and that's all there is to it. So, you know, snap out of that junk. Get to where you can start keeping bees without treatments, and I promise you, you're going to find success by doing that. And you might have some years where you have a lot of loss. I mean, this last year, we lost almost 50% of our apiary, and that's just fine, because sometimes there's loss. But we've also had years where we had 100% survival, you know, and like I said, that one year, we survived with 11 colonies. Going into the winter, we had 11 colonies survive, and so we had 100% survival. So it's up and down. You know, everybody's going to have bee loss, and, you know, it doesn't matter if you're treating or not. It doesn't matter. You're not going to lose bees. But I'm trying to convince you right now, save your money. Don't spend it on that junk, and you'll be a lot happier. Your bees will be a lot happier too. They don't want that wood bleach on the inside of their hive. They don't want it there, and they don't want those strips that you literally can't touch with your bare hands. So do the wise thing, get out of using treatments, and I promise you, you'll be a lot happier. You'll have a lot more money in your bank account doing that too, and it'll be a lot easier. So that about wraps up our video. I know I went on a little tirade there, but yeah, it means a lot to me. Like I really care about a lot of beekeepers out there, and I want people to know that, you know, they're failing sometimes because they're doing what the professionals are telling them to do, and they're having a lot of loss because of that. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can also find success like we found. It's very easy, and you don't have to do a bunch of bells and whistles to be successful. So hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, we'll see you soon.